Hello and welcome to Prep Playbook Review. I'm Jim Rapier. Today we'll look at some of the highlights from Week 9 of the high school football season. Joining me now via Skype from the North Shore is Jim Derry. Well, Jim, there was no shortage of great games in Week 9. Are you ready to get started?
Well, let's get it going.
All right, Jim. Karr needed a rally to get past McDonogh 35. Any surprises in that game?
The only surprise to me really was the fact that they were 13 down and came back and won so convincingly. Karr is in a fight now, and they have a chance to go and prove themselves next week, playing one of the best teams in the state in Warren Easton, and they have a chance to win part of this 9-4A district with the share.
What did you get as we look at some of the highlights? A great punt return there by McDonogh 35's Omar Spears. What did you get by Karr's ability to rally the way that it did? Obviously, they got some championship pedigree on that team.
Yeah, I've said this before, and people tend to forget sometimes, I'm not sure why, that Karr has been to the Dome the last 4 years, and that kind of experience is something that is invaluable at times like this in the season. So, don't count them short next week against Warren Easton because of that, because they've been in the Dome, they've been in championship pressure situations, and for that reason alone, I think it'll be a good game next week.
It's certainly one to look forward to. All right, Jim, let's turn our attention to a game you covered. How impressive was Ponchatoula in its victory against St. Paul's?
Well, they're clearly the class of this district, and between Christian Campbell on offense and Brian Rogers and Reggie Walker on defense, and it was just a fantastic performance by a group of kids that have been focused all season on one thing, and that's winning the district. And now they're going to be rewarded with either a 1 or 2 seed, maybe a 3, but they're going to be at home certainly in Week 1 and probably Week 2. And this is a team that has a pedigree to go to the Dome.
And they got it done offensively as well as defensively against the Wolves. Just an impressive performance all around for the Green Wave there. And they are definitely looking at the postseason. All right, Jim, go ahead.
I was going to say, don't forget this was Hank Tierney's 250th win, and to show you how old I am, I was at win number 1.
That very impressive for Coach Tierney there, and I'm glad that you got to see 1 and 250. Moving from one intense matchup to another, Jim, what was your take on Easton winning the big showdown with Landry Walker?
The question all along was how well was Landry Walker's defense going to play, and whether they were going to be able to contain Caper Smith and all the offense that Easton had. And for a half, they were very successful. The problem was that the second half, Caper Smith took over. He ended up scoring 4 touchdowns in that game. And what else can you say about the kid? He is fantastic. He is the leading passer in the state. He is a threat with both his legs and his arm, and he is just one of the best players in the state of Louisiana, no question.
Here we see a nice throw for a touchdown to Tyron Johnson, 23 yards.
You get that they got Tyron Johnson.
When they needed to, Easton really turned it on in the second half, didn't they?
They really did, and it could have gone. You would not have been surprised if Landry Walker would have won this game, but Easton just came out. They had a bump in the road. They lost at Woodlawn in Week 4, and since then they've been on a roll, and they're showing why many people predicted them to be the top team in Class 4A going into the season.
Is it a case of they just keep coming at you? They're just relentless offensively. It begins to wear on an opponent?
That's exactly what it is. And, you can only hold them down for so long, and that's why I'm interested to see. I don't think there's going to be a situation when you get to the playoffs that they're going to be counted out. Even if they get down a couple scores, if they make it to the semifinals or quarterfinals or semifinals and they find themselves down by a couple of scores, they're not out of it. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens once they get into the playoffs and get rolling.
Definitely a team to keep an eye on as we move forward into the postseason. All right, last but not least, Jesuit put a stop to Brother Martin's undefeated season by upending the Crusaders. Jim, what did you think about that outcome?
Brother Martin had every opportunity to roll over there. They were down 14-0 at the half. They couldn't get many things rolling on offense, but they came back and they fought back. And that could be key this week. Now Jesuit, after Jesuit beats Brother Martin, they're going to be that team's going to be rooting for Brother Martin to come through against Rummel this week to create a share of the district, the Catholic League title. But I was very impressed with with Jesuit again, they have had some tough luck in close games against teams this season. Against Ponchatoula, they lost 24-21 in week 1, and then obviously against Rummel, they lost by 3 points week before. So it was interesting to see. They came through this week. They held on. Jacobs kicks the field goal with 4 minutes left, and they come through and win. But Jesuit's defense is playing fantastic right now.
And you mentioned the field goal. Special teams is not something to be overlooked this time of year, is it?
No, it's not. And Crew Jacobs has been around. He's proven that he can kick the field goal, and it's nice to know that if you get inside the 25 or so and you stall, that you have a chance to score some points right there. And not every high school team can say that.
No question. And coming away with points on some of those drives, absolutely critical. And the tighter games get, the later we get in the season.
Obviously, and then with as tough as the Division I playoffs are going to be, there are going to be a ton of close games in those playoffs. And like you said, being able to kick a field goal instead of having to go for it on 4th and 6, big difference.
No question about it. All right, there was certainly some great action for football fans last weekend, and we will look ahead in our preview coming up later in the week to next week's games. Jim, thanks for giving us some input.
Thanks, Jim. Look forward to it.
And don't forget, you can follow all of Jim's work as well as all of our writers at highschoolsports.NOLA.com. Well, that's all for this edition of Prep Playbook Week 9 Review. Be sure to check out, as I mentioned, the Week 10 preview edition of Prep Playbook later in the week. For Jim Derry, I'm Jim Rapier. Thanks for clicking on us.